in the keys? The fingertips that reach out to touch them? The string that begs to be bent? Or is it in the notes on a page? A foot to a pedal? The infinite space between imagination and skill? Or is it simply music?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 13th Note Art of Mastery podcast. I am your host, Jeff Spike Wong. And today we have our friend Jay Barth back. And Jay, of course, has been the professional front of the house engineer for many bands. Of course, he's known for working with Bob Seger, Kiss, Cheap Trick, Aretha Franklin, on and on. But today we're doing something that I'm going to say is my personal guilty pleasure. Because without this particular band, I probably would not have picked up the guitar, would not have had a professional music career and so forth. So today we are doing our dive on Kiss, 1974 to 1976. This is when the band first came out legit from Casablanca Record. They released their first Kiss album, self-titled, on February 18th, 1974. And then proceed to go on and slug it out on the circuit. So without any further ado, welcome, Jay. How are you, sir?
I'm good, Jeff. Thanks for having me here today.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to have you.
All right.
I hope you're staying warm. I know it's very cold up there in Michigan.
Yeah, I think it's up now. It's almost to zero, so it was minus 13 overnight. So
yeah, well, we're trying to catch up. We're in our 40s now.
There you go.
So we got 40 more degrees to go. So let's go down kind of in regards to share with us now. Kiss released their record, and from what I have read and learned with, just being a fan and also doing research for this, is that these guys were traveling with Sean Delaney in a so-called station wagon in the beginning. And it was just like everybody else, just roughing it out, one set of costume, and packing their gear up and having to go and every place set up, every place tear down, jump back into the station wagon and go to the next destination.
Sure.
Around when did you join the touring team?
Well, we had my background was that I was with a sound company out of Ann Arbor, Michigan called Fanfare.
Yeah.
And Fanfare was started by a fellow named Marty Priest and another fellow named Kurt Andrews. And Marty was the sound engineer for Alice Cooper. And Kurt Andrews was the sound guy for a band called SRC, Scott Richard Case, which was a very big Michigan band back at the time. And they both had some gear that they had, and they came together and founded Fanfare. And we did, before I was with Kiss, we did a number of things. We used to do all the concerts, free concerts around Ann Arbor and various things. And my first time with them, I met them at one of the free concerts. I was working for a band called Catfish, and they liked what I did and said, "Hey, you want to go on the road?" And 2 weeks later, I was out with Joe Walsh and Barnstorm. So anyhow, we had, while I was doing Joe Walsh, we used to come home and do all kinds of different things. But Marty also worked with a band called the Pleasure Seekers, which was a very famous all-girl band out of Detroit. And of course, the little bass player of the Pleasure Seekers was Susie Quatro.
Wow.
And when Susie became very big in England, and she came back to the U.S., and she recruited Marty to help do her sound at her opening thing at the Michigan Palace Theater. And that's the bill was Susie Quatro. The second band was Blue Oyster Cult, and the opening act was this bunch called Kiss that I had never heard of. They had been in Detroit once before with Aerosmith about a month earlier. However, this was right at the time that, they were kind of buzzing in Detroit. I literally drove all night with the truck, got there about 7:30 or 8 in the morning. And Marty had some other guys set up to do the gig because he knew we were going to be exhausted.
Yeah.
Well, we come into the backstage of the Michigan Palace, and there's a wall of marshals set up with a drum kit on a forklift and 3 guys in black leather jackets sitting there. So, and I said, Marty, I don't know what this is, but I got to go home. So that I did not do that gig. There was some other folks there, but in the meantime, the band and the crew loved our sound system. So when they came back through the area, anywhere close enough, they hired us to do their sound. And I was kind of the system engineer, and there was a fellow named Pete Oracento, a.k.a. Moose.
Yes.
A.k.a. the Beast from the East. He was their sound guy at the time. So it kind of evolved from there, from that April 74 thing till by the end of the summer, we were pretty much doing all of their shows.
Wow.
So they, we were, be 2 of us in a truck driving, setting it up, driving again, setting it up. And one night in early December of that year, we were doing a show in Evansville, Indiana. And this fellow that I used to work for, you'll recognize the name. His name was Michael Quattro.
Yes.
Yes, brother to Susie and the sisters.
Yeah.
He was on stage, and we heard this blast go off. And the next thing I knew, Sally, one of the road guys, came out and, Hot Sam, you're mixing tonight. Moose blew his hand up, loading the drumstick, Bob. So that was my first night to mix Kiss.
Yeah.
And at that point, I spent the next 2 years as their front of house guy. But it was actually through Fanfare because they hired us,
right?
And I happened to be the guy then we parted ways in September 76 when after they had hired new management, and the management decided they were going to cut costs.
Right.
They hired someone less expensive, and at that point I went immediately on to Seeger. But that's more of the story here. So.
Right. So let me ask you this: when they were coming around, they liked what your sound company was doing. Was at that time a norm practice that the bands would hire regionally opposed to an entire tour?
Until you got to the point where you could, yes.
Okay.
So it was a matter of whether you had that ability yet or not.
Right.
Because it obviously costs some money, and you got to travel around, and it's a little cheaper to just get some local guys. But if you want it to be consistent, the same every night,
sure,
it costs. You do it. So that's kind of how we got into
it. And being Moose was the front of the house during that time. What were you doing? What were your?
Well, I was the system engineer. I was the guy that set it up, did everything. Set it up, tore it down, drove it to the next place.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And back then, did you fly anything up or is everything stacked?
Not at the beginning. It was pretty much all stacks at that point. Getting stuff up in the air didn't really happen till and we can talk about it going on here, through 75 and then into 76, we were pretty much all up in the air. Or 76, we were on stadiums and stuff. So, but no, it was pretty much stacked, and I have some pictures and stuff that we can share as we go along here of what it kind of looked like back then.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you show up at venues and you have your gear, is it definitely at that point, at any place you go into, union guys have to move the stuff into the place? You can't touch it?
In those days, it depended.
Okay.
There were cities where, and it wasn't always a friendly scene. Nowadays, some of my best friends are stagehands and stuff, but back in 74 and whatnot, they thought we were taking their jobs, and it was sometimes not comfortable.
Interesting.
So it just varied. There was places where you couldn't plug a cord in; you had to stand there and tell people to do stuff. And then there was other places where they would, just do certain things, and it really varied from town to town. Some of the bigger cities with strong unions were a pain in the rear. Chicago was notoriously a pain. Of course, New York City. I remember in New York City we had a time when they had a little side town. The system was flown, but a little wing on the side, and we started over at the end, and one of the cabinets came from the sound wing onto the stage, about 1.5 feet. And these guys, the sound wing was the electricians, and the stage was the stage hands.
Right.
So two separate unions, and they sit there yelling at each other and making scene. They could have just said, "You do that side, and we'll do that side," but no, they had to make a huge scene, like they hated each other. And then, of course, at the end of the night, after the loadout, the same two geezers are over there drinking a beer together and laughing about the whole thing. So this is the kind of pain in the ass they would try to make it for us.
Right.
But those things evolved, and nowadays it's a pretty good working relationship with everybody, because
that's awesome.
I think that the stagehands union and the electricians union all figured out that, hey, it's a payday and it's a good payday, and they stopped the nonsense over time.
Right. Oh, I can imagine that. Well, I mean, how could you not finally get along? Everybody loves the music scene. Everybody loves the partying. Eventually, it's not about the money; it's about the vibe.
Well, there's some of that.
So let me kind of go down the timeline. You got in with them during the summer, going into the fall thing, which of course, the summer tour circuit then kind of finishes. So Kiss goes back into the studio to do Hotter Than Hell, which was released October of '74. So having 2 records in 1 year. They still didn't break them. I remember reading, especially the book that everybody got involved with, the Roadie book, right? I forgot the name of it. In the aspect of
Kiss Crew.
Yeah, that's it. That was a great book. I thought that shed some light.
I had one over on the shelf. I didn't bring it over, but
yeah. Well, the thing was that at Hotter Than Hell, it was, again, I thought it was a pretty good album. It was better than the first record in sense of sonic value of it, right?
Yeah.
However, 74, I think we still had the Carpenters, America, Jim Croce, the still a California folky being on the charts. Mm-hmm. So Kiss wasn't really being looked at seriously at that point, I think. And it was kind of still, I think, a big grind for them going to second tour. Can you elaborate a little bit of coming into the winter of '74? What was that like?
Well, boy, I have to look at some of the dates and stuff. It was a lot of work at that time. They were doing 4 or 5 shows a week sometimes, and just all over through the Midwest, every little place you can imagine. So it was they kept plugging away at it. That's for sure.
Yeah. And during this time, of course, one of the most infamous stories is Blue Oyster Cult. Being there, they were the opening act for Blue Oyster Cult back in New York. Then eventually, about a year or so later, that became the opposite, where Blue Oyster Cult opened for Kiss.
Right.
So I know that was a big claim mistake of, hey, we're starting to make it. Yeah. But one of the things that I learned later on, of course, is that they also had doing bills with Humble Pie, which was, I think, Paul Stanley's one of his favorite influences.
Yeah. Well, some of those shows, like Humble Pie, during '74, it was kind of a mixed bag. There was a lot of shows at that time that Fanfare did not do. Mm-hmm. So if it was another headliner, for instance, like a Humble Pie or a ZZ Top or something like that, we didn't do that. So I wasn't there. So anytime that it was a Kiss show from about, I don't know, midsummer '74 on, we were doing it.
Right.
But they still did a lot of shows with other bands that I wasn't there for.
So I would say the management always had the feelers out for dates. So that way, let's say you were on for 2.5 weeks and all of a sudden there's a drop off for 5 days. We're not going to let the boys sit around.
Yeah.
And they pick up other dates. Was that the mindset?
Oh, sure. I mean, they did whatever they could.
And what you as the sound company just went home at that point, or you went to the next
and
destination?
we did we did other things. We did a lot of Blue Oyster Cult shows.
Okay. Yeah.
And we would come back to Ann Arbor and do whatever needed to be done. Geez, we did a lot of shows with John Prine. We did a lot of shows just at the university, at the Hill Auditorium, and
Yeah.
I mean, we would do Joan Baez at Hill Auditorium or something.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Whatever came up when we were off, or when we
Right.
were not doing KISS, we did. So,
Yeah.
and then eventually Fanfare ended up with another system. That's a whole other story too. So,
and during this time, of course, they need to work because they need to justify the spending from the new label and everything.
yeah,
And from what I understand, Neil Bogart's money was funding from this Johnny Carson Best of's Tonight Show. That was a record they put out that actually was generating some income, where KISS was not barely breathing
right.
coming out of the first two records. And with that going on, they're going out there working as hard as they could.
Sure.
Did you see when the band first come out for the first record, by the end of the year, were they already being somewhat road worn out because of this constant working?
I'm not sure I'd put it that way. I mean, some of the band guys took it harder than others.
Well,
Peter would get ornery sometimes when he was, didn't want to put the makeup on again or whatever, But,
really? Even
sure.
as early as those days?
Yeah, it was a lot, Think
Yeah.
about having to every day put that shit on and then take it off and then the next day the
Right.
same thing.
And Peter's
they worked hard.
Yeah, Peter's what, 7, 8 years older than Gene and Paul.
Yeah.
So I can also recognize and appreciate that he's like, hurry up already. We're a signed band. We've been at this for a year, 2 records out, and we're still eating peanut butter sandwiches.
Yeah.
But let's look at the logistics of it. During this time, they want to be bigger than life, right? That was always the whole premise and so forth. So all the Marshall amps that used to show up on stage, were they legit Marshall amps, or are they empty cabinets?
Oh, there was a couple legit, but
okay. So they were the forerunners of.
To be honest, at that time, I don't think they didn't have any empty cabinets at the time.
Okay.
They just had cabinets that weren't used. I mean,
okay, gotcha.
But we didn't. It wasn't that big. I mean, if you look at some of the old pictures, it was, there was maybe 4 stacks on each side. And Paul would. Ace would use one standard 100-watt stack, and Paul would use just one box and a 100-watt head. And then it got to the point where Ace had 2 stacks and Paul used the whole stack, And, hey, Curly, I need another Marshall. I can't hear my guitar.
Yeah. And interestingly, of course, during that time, the only thing you really have is like a fuzz box. There wasn't really a lot of so-called pedals that was going to enhance the amplifier sound.
I don't think Ace even used one of those when I was there.
Right. So he was a straight in.
I don't remember any pedals. No.
Right. Well, stomping around on those big boots, I think it would be a chore and probably dangerous if you had to go try to step on something.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, of course, one of the stories I remember growing up that they talked about is Ace was notorious with bad balance, constantly falling on stage. Do you remember seeing a lot of that?
Oh, sure. It'd be hilarious. He'd be doing a solo and he'd like kind of fall backwards, and he'd just keep playing, and he'd look over to the side of the stage to Sally or whatever, and he'd go, "Hey, Curly, I need a hand here."
Oh, that's funny. And of course, the guy runs over and kind of, help him.
Yeah, that happened more than once, I tell you.
So this was definitely a Spinal Tap moment that Nigel Tufnell kind of took.
Oh, sure.
He was bending over and couldn't get back up.
You bet.
Yeah.
You
And
bet.
the great thing about it is that they incorporated into the show, as Ace always talked about, Paul and Gene rush over, bang their guitars together, look great. One of the things that I've always appreciated about that band is just how well they were organized and choreography into a show.
Sure.
Was any of this
Well,
were you see working on during sound check, or was this something that was pre tour?
most of it was pre-tour, but every once in a while they would do a few things. You know, Sean Sean Delaney was the guy that really got them into dancing and moving and stuff. So he did,
Right.
he did a lot of that. And he would come on and do little things now and then, especially if there was a new song or something. He'd go through some moves. But most of that stuff was done before they went out on the road.
Yeah. And I always felt that Sean was an unsung hero for the band.
Well,
because
yeah,
what he did in the choreography aspect of it.
Yeah,
And of course then driving everybody too.
yeah.
And supposedly he was Bill's friend. Let's just put that.
One of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Bill's an interesting guy.
Yeah.
Of all the things I've ever read about Bill, he took a chance on this band, but by the time that it really blew up, 76, 77, by 78, he was an untouchable, if you will.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Gene walks Van Halen into his office. He looks at him and goes, "No, that's not going to work." Go figure that, right?
Yeah. What are you going to do?
All right. So let's talk a little bit about the stage show during that first year. You said they had a forklift. Were we talking about literally a type of forklift that you see that was moving gear in the back of the arena type of forklift?
The original one was actually not even one that it was one of those kind that you walk behind.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't even a driving forklift. It was one of those kind you walk behind. And it it went up, I don't know, 4 feet or something like that. It was
right.
And Peter hated it. It was shakier than all get out. And, he could he always hated it.
And what about this chain drive? Was this the same thing? Because they talked about that chain drive thing on the Tom Snyder show, where you skip the chain.
There's a picture of that. It is kind of what it was. It was a kind of a walk around thing, and it wasn't hydraulic. It was chain done from behind.
Yeah.
But you literally moved it around by hand. It didn't drive. It wasn't a driving thing.
Yeah. And this is something that everybody packed up onto the truck every show.
Oh sure.
Wow, no kidding.
Yeah, you bet.
Interesting. and the drum riser itself, was it just like a 2x4 nailed with plywood, or how was that constructed?
Yeah, boy, I can't remember the actual details but it was an 8x 6x8 or 8x8 or whatever thing.
Yeah.
And there was like a little extension on the fork thing, and that was it. And
they didn't nail anything down on Peter's kit.
Oh yeah, everything was strapped down. There were little eye hooks all over the thing, and everything had like bungee cord straps.
Okay.
To keep it in place.
Right. So it didn't shuffle and stuff like that.
Sure.
Right. Well, the reason why I asked that is, when they did the ABC in concert show, Peter proceeds at the end of the show to kick his drums off like Keith Moon.
Yeah.
So maybe that was just for the television effect.
I think so. Yeah. It wouldn't have been.
Did you ever go to any of the television stuff they were doing?
No, I didn't. Not with Kiss. No.
Yeah.
I've been to Leno and Letterman and a bunch of them, but with Cheap Trick or whatever, not with Kiss.
Right. Yeah. In one of the biggest, I think exposure they had in '74 was going on Mike Douglas. Mike Douglas at that time was, the Phil Donahue spot, as I called it, and then it became the Oprah spot, which is 3 in the afternoon.
That was a big whoop-de-doo for the band. No about it.
So once they've done that, they got some serious national exposure. Did you notice that? Was there more excitement coming into the arena, or was it still, that was great, but next day was the same old song and dance?
No, there was. It was a real. in early 75, it was pretty organic. I mean, Alive hadn't come out yet.
Right.
And it was, it was a lot of word of mouth with young people, and it was growing. I mean, it grew, and it was real big in St. Louis. Detroit, of course, was a huge market, and New York. We did 2 nights at the Beacon Theater, and in St. Louis we would do Kiel Auditorium, which is I don't know what, about a 6,000 seat place.
Okay.
Sell that out, and then of course in Detroit, we came back to Cobo Hall. So.
Yeah. And at what point did Kiss shifted to a headliner to a 5,000, 7,000 seater type of arena?
Well, it's hard for me to pinpoint a date. I think if I went through the book and read about the venues, it'd get a little closer. But it was kind of a mixed bag. We would go from a small theater to we weren't really. It took a while to get into the over 12,000s or over 10,000 places, but we would have a mixture of 6,000 seaters, like maybe Hare Arena in Dayton was 5 or 6, and then we'd do a theater that was 2. So it was kind of a mixed bag at that time. I can't recall any specific time other than of course after Cobo and later on after Alive came out.
And what was capacity for Cobo Hall?
Cobo was about 10-ish.
Okay.
Between 10 and 12 maybe.
Right.
Not a huge hall. And pretty, actually, as halls go, today it would be too small for these big shows and stuff. But it was actually a pretty good sounding hall. It had a nice bowl shape to it, and a stage was put in sort of the right place. So it was a decent place to do a concert.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure as front of the house that it was much friendlier to mix a room that was less than 5,000 than it is to mix a room that was, a little bit bigger, especially if it's a sports facility.
Right.
Right. And at that point, what would you say the biggest so-called obstacles to deal with a band that plays so basically, visually driven, but they're simple band, meaning that they're not, Mahavishnu Orchestra. They're not out there to dazzle you. They're playing hard rock and they're very loud. Right. Is that a bigger challenge than normal? You have to take more time out in sound checks. You have to be more due diligence on EQs and things like that. Share a little bit of that.
Not necessarily. To be honest, they weren't really any louder than anybody else at the time.
So that's all a perception?
Like I said, well, I'm not going to say they were quiet or anything. Don't get me wrong. And we turned it up, but I mean, as far as Ace using a Marshall stack, so did everybody else back then.
Right.
It wasn't like, it was all pretty loud. I mean, if you were Eric Clapton or Ace Frehley, you played through a Marshall stack. It didn't matter.
Well, the one of the things that I was really surprised at as I got into my career is that despite of how much amplification on stage, I was always able to walk up to a band member and say something they can hear me.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming Kiss was able to do that as well.
Oh, sure.
Okay. So it's definitely manageable on stage.
Yeah.
As if they were in the loft rehearsing, they can hear each other, talk to each other.
Yeah.
That type of thing. Right. So, do you remember your first show? Was Gene doing the fire thing already at that point?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And did you even know that he was going to pull that little shtick out?
Well, we had kind of, by the time I started doing their shows, I had been, updated and warned about it, So,
warned about it. I love it. Yeah. So all the times you've done this, watching that type of that segment, Firehouse, and he's doing the fire, how many times did he light his hair on fire?
Oh, geez, not very often. Only a couple little times.
Still, that's Even couple is too much, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
Yeah. Well, interestingly, I talked to quite a few Gene Simmons tribute acts,
okay,
that throughout the last probably 20 years. And everybody talks about, various different type of concoctions they use and so forth.
right,
Everybody had their different takes regards to how they do the breathing fire, but they all talk about having this liquid next to them in case they swallow some by accident and it cause them to throw it up.
right.
Yeah. So I remember Gene also talked about that too, that accidentally swallow something. I can't remember what this liquid was, that he would have to take a swig of it. It would make sure he regurgitate that.
Yeah. Well, the
that
fire
kerosene.
stuff was a blend of kerosene and
Yeah.
whatever.
That's just crazy to me. They would put kerosene in a mix and stick it in your mouth and blow it out.
Well,
Right?
I guess.
But at the same time, I think from the band's creative aspect of it, they couldn't have asked for a better, gimmick.
Sure.
Especially a guy that's walking around vampire monster,
Yeah.
the kind of the dark side of Kiss.
Well, at
And
the
that- I
time,
thought-
yeah.
Yeah, it was. I thought that was a real good balance. The other aspect of the Kiss show from '74 and '75 that I've witnessed in seeing is just how agile both Paul and Gene were physically, wearing the shoes and jumping.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah. It's still astounding, I think, how they ever got away with some of that stuff.
right. Well,
No broken ankles and
that's the first thought because in my days, I was in a band that wore 7-inch platform. It was copying Kiss. And I remember trying to do Paul and I nearly broke my neck.
yeah.
And of course, my bandmate goes, no. You can't do that. You're not Paul Stanley.
Yeah.
And then to see Paul do some of the things, I was just like, okay. What I was really amazed at is seeing Gene do similar type of jump. I mean, literally crouch down and go straight up
Sure.
and then come back down onto that.
Yep.
When they're doing this type of thing, was there a physical, so-called any kind of daily regimen of exercising or anything, or are they just because they're young they can get away with this?
I think they just could get away with it. Yeah.
Yeah,
They
because
practiced
that
it,
took a
got away
lot.
with it. Yeah. Crazy
And
stuff.
well, I mean, I don't know. I don't think Paul had a hip replacement, did he? Because
I don't know.
yeah, I know Edward Van Halen had a hip replacement, and we all know if we watch early Edward Van Halen stuff, he's every bit up there jumping around.
Yeah.
Pete Townsend, Paul Stanley, he's doing the same shtick.
Well, I had a hip replacement, and all I did was turn it up. So,
So vicariously, Paul gave you the element, right?
yeah, I got a left hip and a right knee. So,
Wow.
bionic.
Yeah. So let's talk about in the early days, like that. You're setting up. You're usually showing up in the morning hours, right?
Yep.
We're talking
Oh,
about
yeah.
between 7 to 10.
Yeah,
Would you say by 2:00 everything was ready to go?
yeah. More like 4, probably.
4. Okay. And of course, lunch break, breakfast, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, you'd have a little lunch break. And,
Yeah.
Sound
What-
check was usually 4:30, 5 o'clock or something.
Was the energy ever been like hurry up, or was it ever like just oh, we got to do what the boss said, or was it on your own?
Well, you kind of get to where when you're working that many shows, you kind of there's certain things that you do to make your life easier and more predictable.
Right.
Putting things away in the right manner means that they come out in the right manner. So, the thing is, you don't want to spend too much time in the morning with a tangled piece of mess. So you make sure that it gets put away properly so that you can take it out properly.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of thoughts like that. And then and a lot depends too on the venues. How hard is the load in? How long does it take?
You're right.
I mentioned before New York City, for instance. These guys with these stagehands they're all professional. They could have been done by 3:30 in the afternoon, but they specifically drag things out and make it so that you're done with your stuff 2 minutes before the doors open. because they figure if they get it done any sooner, you're not going to hire them for as much time next time or something. I don't know.
Interesting.
That was
Yeah.
the mentality back then. The
Right.
same stuff that you get finished by 3:34 in the afternoon.
Right.
You'd go there and it'd be a struggle to get it done by 7 o'clock. That's just because they dig you around.
Right.
I hope all that stuff's, like I said, it's changed and evolved over time. But back then, that's what they did.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think back then it was almost trial and error in a lot of ways.
Yeah, sure.
Sure. First time around. When KISS go on location, let's say they go into Chicago and they're doing a meet and greet, or at least a drive time radio before they do the concert at night. They're showing up a lot of times with their makeup, doing photo ops and so forth.
Yep.
Are they putting that on, then taking it off, and then putting it back on for the show?
To be honest, Jeff, I'm not sure. I wasn't hanging with it the whole time.
Yeah.
But I would think it depends on the time of day. But
Right.
it's one thing that if you go have a noon photo shoot to keep the stuff on all day, it'd be different than going at 4:30 and then over to sound check. So I don't know.
Right.
That's a good question. I have no idea.
Do you ever recall them showing up at sound check already dressed to kill, so to speak? Ready?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Not a lot.
Peter.
Not often.
Yeah.
That would be kind of a rarity, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can already tell that if I was doing this for a whole year and I'm still, skinny in the paycheck, I would be just like Peter too. Like, how much more longer is this? Because there's no question that it could be very much trapped in that character.
Sure.
Where you're almost losing yourself and your self identity because of what that character has done to you. But at the same time, you can't leave it because you put so much effort and you start to really work.
You bet.
And I understand that Peter has worked a lot in the local area in New York City, but to go out to see America, to see Canada and places like that makes a difference. Did you go across the pond with them in 75?
76 we went.
Was it 76?
Yes.
Okay.
May of 76.
Okay. So there was a documentary filmed when they went to England. Did you ever see that?
I have seen that. Yep.
Yeah. So how exciting was that?
It was great.
Yeah.
I was going to put up a picture here for you in a second.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. Let's put that up. Take a look. I love it.
London Welcome for KISS.
Yeah.
Hammersmith Odeon, very famous venue in London.
Yeah.
The only place that I ever remember that had on the second floor backstage had an authentic British pub.
Really?
With everything you want for before and after the show.
Oh, wow. So how many dates do you remember, or how long were you guys there?
Let's see, a little over a month, maybe.
Okay. So it was a good, solid moving around the general territories.
Oh, yeah. I still have my original itinerary. I've actually shared it on a couple of the KISS web pages.
Right.
I've got the original, spec sheets and itinerary. I think it's the only one in existence, but you can find all of those on the original crew page, the original KISS crew page.
Yeah. And at this point, when you guys went over to the pond in 76, KISS Alive has already been released. Right?
Yes.
And was that wave of success the reason why it brought you over there, or we were still in the middle of that?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And that's the thing where let's take 75 real quick. Around March 19th, I believe this is the date on Dress to Kill came out, and this is the first time they had an anthem, the rock anthem, which is Rock and Roll All Night, and this was kind of a hit and miss from the album release, from what I understand. I remember seeing it in jukeboxes and so forth with Getaway and so forth on the second side of the 45. but it didn't click like what they were shooting for. Do you recall how the atmosphere was for Dress to Kill tour the whole summer of '75? And this is when Rush came on board as well, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I'd have to give that some thought.
What is the picture you posted? Was that another England picture?
Oh, that's we were in Paris,
Yeah.
and the fellow in front here is Rick Hendrickson, aka Hawkeye. He did guitars,
Yeah.
and then there's me when I had long brown hair, and
Yeah.
the fellow in the red shirt. His name is Patrick Woodruff, and he was just one of the members of the lighting crew at the time.
Yeah.
But he went on to become one of the most famous lighting designers in all of lighting design.
Wow.
His company's called Woodruff Bassett Designs, and he's been doing the Rolling Stones design for years. Wow. He does things like the Olympic opening games.
Wow.
The big thing, in London when they did the King inauguration stuff. I mean, big time stuff. Lighting design. So and the lady's still wondering what the fuck's going on. So.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure it's like they're not locals right here. Yeah.
I always get a kick out of that picture.
Yeah. Oh, I bet it was fun going territory to territory, especially if you're going from England to France.
Yeah.
You go to Germany.
Well, we did Denmark. We did a couple shows in Sweden. We did Stockholm and Lund, and we did Copenhagen. We did a bunch in about 4 or 5 in Germany.
Yeah.
Of course, London, Birmingham, Manchester.
Yeah.
Paris, and then we did a little place in Belgium for our very last show. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere, but they had backstage, behind the stage, they had the stage built in front of this thing that was like kind of a bar when they did events and stuff, and they made the mistake of having a beer tap there that was unattended, but became widely used throughout the day and night. So.
Well, at the end of the day, doesn't Aquarium management have to pick up that bill?
I don't know if anybody ever knew about it, to be honest. So.
That's funny. Yeah. So during this jaunt of going across the country, so forth, what was the biggest audience versus what was the smallest audience?
Interesting. They were all fairly, like theater-sized places.
Okay. So 3,000 to 5,000?
Yeah, if that even. Some of them were even smaller. The place we did in Paris was a small little theater, and we actually did a matinee performance. It was like 1 in the afternoon because the theater was booked at night. And the person that was there at night was Jerry Lewis.
Really?
Who was actually very big in Europe at that time.
Sure, yes. Stuff, so. And of course, some of these theaters are, historical, right? Older theater setting.
Sometimes for sure.
And they're okay with the pyrotechnics, or was that scaled back?
Oh, I can't recall details, but they would always keep an eye on things, especially in the old places like Paris and. Yeah. Some of the, Hammersmith, obviously, in the middle of London.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would keep an eye on that.
Yeah, I would think that the hard to deal with is the liability to a room that has, not the modern conveniences compared to, some. So therefore, safety factor becomes a key.
Yeah.
And it exposed. And the thing about flash pods, it's huge difference compared to digital in today's technology. Back those days, it literally is explosives going off. Right
Oh yeah.
And if you're not careful, it'll blow your hand off, blow your face off, right?
And we were always, back in those days, we were always, you'd get on the bus and try to figure out how to make the fire hotter and the sound louder and the brights lighter and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, pushing the maximum. right?
Of course, I don't. At that time, I never thought that it would last. To be honest, if you'd have told me they were still going to be playing into 2020, whatever,
Yeah,
I'd have called the guys in the white suits to come get you.
sure.
But when you look back on it, I mean, we were pioneers. A lot of
Oh,
look
no
look at
question.
what everybody went on to do with drum risers and stuff like that,
Yeah,
and pyro and lights, and
yeah,
it was the beginning of a lot of rock and roll stuff.
that's right. As a matter of fact, I blame Kiss for the $1,000 tickets that everybody's charging now.
Well,
You know,
that's
because realistically, it came from Kiss being over the top.
yeah,
And then everybody else started thinking, well, you know what? It's not, well, out of ourselves to be equally
right.
bombastic,
We got to go over that.
despite of not doing the theatrical aspect of it, but the
Yeah,
lighting, right? The lighting rigs and so forth became bigger and bigger in the 80s.
you bet.
And
Yeah,
and that to me attributes to all the way back to Kiss.
yeah,
Because prior to that, it was typical double truss. Maybe you got something in the back. It wasn't really elaborate. Because I remember going to concerts before the 80s blew up. So
yeah,
we're talking about the 70s Cheap Trick, the 70s Journey, and things like that. That they were still kind of scaled down. You're wearing your clothes to go out there and just kind of play under some colored lights,
yeah,
almost
yeah,
like being in a club. So that to me, I've always said Kiss, once they blew up and we as fans start going, oh, this is a must-see show.
sure.
Then that trickles, of course, down the line to the record companies, to the management saying, hey, we need to create a must-see show.
Yep,
Yep. So let's talk about the Kiss Alive moment. They
okay,
toured all summer for Dress to Kill and obviously didn't make enough bank. So I believe the decision at that point from Bill and Neil Bogart and so forth is let's put out a live record. Let's get that. Then maybe this will hopefully get some more going, get that sound and that live show capturing.
yeah,
And it doesn't hurt that in the 70s, live album was the thing, right? We're
yeah,
talking, and this came out before Frampton Comes Alive,
yeah,
and I believe this came out before Fall Guy Live. This came, Aerosmith Live, we just live.
right.
Tell us in regards to when Kiss Live was released in September. When you were recording this was during the summer tour.
Yeah,
Right.
it was May, wasn't it? It was in May.
Okay.
At
Does May
Hall.
consider the summer circuit or May?
Oh, geez, I don't know. It was,
Because I
yeah,
do know that once summer came around, it just seems like everybody's working. So festivals are a huge
yeah.
thing.
Trying to think of what the actual dates were, but yeah, it was May 16, 17. We did Cobo Ha,
Yeah.
and that was one. Of course, we recorded 2 or 3 different places, but
Right.
yeah, I think Bill had the insight to record some shows, get it
Yeah.
on tape, and then of course the album. The rest is famous. So.
Right. And of course you met Eddie Kramer, who came over
Oh,
to
sure,
work on this. Yeah.
sure.
Talk a little bit about how you remember the process of doing a live sound with a guy out in the truck having to capture
Yeah.
that.
Well,
And then
Eddie was very congenial and very he was very much that he didn't want to interrupt what we normally do,
right.
and he had very few things that I remember. One of the things I remember specifically is he had his own kick drum mic.
Hmm.
It was an Electro Voice 666,
Really?
and there's also one called the 664. The 664 is on a swivel and
Yeah.
has a switch on it. The 666 was a dark gray, and it was kind of the studio professional version of that.
Yeah.
But it's literally the same microphone that he used on Jimi Hendrix, Led Zeppelin.
Sure.
It's that,
Yeah.
you listen to Kashmir or something,
Right.
This is the foot drum. But that's
Right.
really, pretty much everything else he used ours. And then he even took a feedback from my console for the the phaser thing that I used to do on Peter's drum kit stuff.
Right.
So that's actually, when you hear that on the record or on YouTube or something, that all comes from my desk.
Oh yeah, yeah. Let's talk about that particular aspect of the phasing drum thing was pretty big in the 70s, because I know John Bonham used it.
Yeah.
I definitely Peter. I mean, first time I heard it was from actually Peter. Then I hear other bands. And I can't remember, was it Blue Oyster Cult or Grand Funk or somebody else was also using it.
Yeah.
So it was a popular effect, right? Is it because it's new?
I think so. I mean, we grew up listening to Itchy Coo Park by Phases. That was kind of the first phaser that I ever heard.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was kind of, it was something different. When I listened back to it, it's like, oh my God, there's way too much of that crap. But at the time, it was, this picture I put up actually is this was from a show we did at a little high school in Illinois. Right. And that's skinny fellow with brown hair. But that is the actual, that's my front of house rig that was with me all through 75, late 74 and 75. You're looking at everything that we had at the time.
That's amazing.
If you look at that rack in the middle, there's 2 instant phasers up there, which I utilized.
Yeah.
And then below that, there's a silver thing with a single knob in the middle.
Yep.
And that thing was one of my guys in Ann Arbor designed that. It hooked up to that Sony reel-to-reel deck you see to the right.
Right.
And it was a motor control. So I used that deck. It's sort of like old-fashioned tape slap.
Right.
You go into the left, out of the left, into the right, and then you change the speed of the tape to get your echo to coordinate with the song.
Right.
And I also would use that, like for Gene's bass blood splitting scene. Right. I would put the bass guitar in there.
Yeah.
And then take that silver knob and
yeah.
And of course you could take the bass and saturate the tape and it would just be like grunge funk, and Gene loved it. Oh, and one of the funniest stories is when we left doing the band, I carried that with me all through Destroyer and everything. Just basically after I got digital delays and stuff, I still used that because that's how I did the bass thing. Well, then some new company came along and they got a digital delay to do it.
Yeah.
Well, all that did was snap, crackle, and pop the minute you tried to saturate it or anything. It wasn't like tape; it just broke up like digital distortion.
Yeah,
and they couldn't figure out why. Can't you tell us how I did it? No, I can't. It's bad.
Yeah,
tell Gene to write me a check.
How did you come up with this trick? I mean, this is pretty ingenious to sit there and start, working with tape delays and patching that in and go, hey, let's do a live thing with this.
Well, I use the tape deck for songs, little, slap echo and stuff like that. And you could, the timing thing, you could set the time to the tempo, same way you do as, with DDLs nowadays, we all have little tapper things.
Right.
You tap along and it gets your echo right. Well, you had to kind of dial it in with that.
Yeah.
And then when it came back into the console, you could resend it, so you'd get a regeneration,
right?
A continuing echo instead of a simple slap,
right?
But yeah, I just put the bass in there and figured it out, and Gene loved it. So.
Oh yeah, it definitely added so much to the blood spitting before 100,000 year. That moment again became iconic, especially in still photographs. Yeah. Because, back in the days, no internet, nothing, you got the album cover, you got the little booklet, and then whatever magazines you're going to get, right?
Yeah.
And there was this sequence of 3 or 4 in Detroit of Gene drilling the blood that went all around the world.
Those are classic. And that desk that you're looking at is the same. That's the desk we used from 74 up and through. Sometime in the early summer 76, we got our new console.
Yeah.
Made by the same fellow, but that was we called that desk Old Faithful.
Oh, I bet.
And it ran for many years. It was 24 channels. It had 4 stereo subgroups, each one with an octave band equalizer.
Yeah.
Actually had a built-in, up on the top there's a built-in intercom section. And over to the left of that phaser rack over there is the outboard power supply to it. So one of our best stories of 1975 was when we were in Texas, San Antonio. That power supply failed.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a backup. So the console runs on basically plus or minus 12 volts. Okay? So I had them bring the batteries from the limousines. And I hooked up the minuses together, and the plus, one plus was plus and one battery was minus.
Yeah.
And I did the whole show with the batteries from the limousines.
That's amazing.
Running the console.
Right.
Of course, this was the band that sometimes they would do what they called an immediate. Like, in other words, they'd come off the stage, get into the cars, go to the hotel, take them.
Right.
They didn't want to see anybody. They wanted to get out of here.
Right.
Well, the band called for an immediate. And Gene's were exact words. What the fuck you mean Hot Sam's got the batteries?
Oh, that's funny.
So they couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah. And they're sticking to their leather suits. Oh man. That's to me always been an amazing improvisational moment. You do what it takes to get the show going.
We did it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And let's say good night, everyone, and they walk off stage. Your position at that point is to start to unplug and start packing everything in front of you.
Yeah.
So it's not really an easy job whatsoever, is it?
No, not really.
Yeah. So okay, let's just sidebar this. Kiss has started to get some momentum here. There's got to be fanfare, some partying, some girls, and so forth. How did you see there was like an evolution of this popularity, the scene developing, or is this didn't come till later? One of the things that, like I said, would jump out to me is the stories they had about Alex Lifeson with the paper bag, doing the shticks. So it gives me the impression that there wasn't a lot of parties. It was pretty much, we did the show, we're back at the hotel, and we're walking around smoking pot and being stupid until we get ready to go to the next day.
Well, we took advantage of time off, to put it that way. But being on the road, actually that time or any time,
right?
It's kind of militaristic. When you got to be there at load in, and you got to be there. You got to be in your place when the lights go down, or you're going to be on a bus, and it's not going to be the tour bus. So, there's no such thing as calling in sick or showing up late.
Right.
If bus call is 9:30 and you're to drive to the next place, and you get there at 10 minutes 10, you're buying drinks when you get to the next place. So you don't do that too often. So, but yeah, when nights off, we had a good time. So.
Yeah, that's great. So okay, let's go to. Let me take this off, and I see you put another photo here.
Yeah, sort of our.
This is a very popular photo.
Yeah, the guys are so young. The rest,
right? and at this time, Neil was probably in the band less than a year.
I think so. Yeah, this would have been probably very early '75 at this point.
Right. And for them, I've always loved that story that they found a drummer a week later. They're playing in Pittsburgh in front of 12,000, 14,000 people.
Yeah, there you go.
What a crazy.
We had a lot of fun together. They were great friends and great guys. So
yeah. And the thing that I loved about how Rush always talked about their early days with Kiss is that how much they learned the logistics and the effort that Kiss put into their shows.
Sure.
And this, I believe, was the reason why they became who they became, that they had an undying commitment to bring you the best rock and roll show possible.
Yeah.
And even though everybody on the so-called the industry was kind of saying they're nothing but a clown show. This is not legit, of serious music. They didn't care.
Yeah.
And it's because of that undying attitude that breed a new generation of musicians such as myself and friends of mine.
Sure.
We all have the similar story of you got to believe in yourself, because if you don't, then no one else will.
Yeah.
And we all got this from Paul Stanley.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, a decade prior to that, his generation, in your generation, was we saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan.
Yeah.
And that immediately changed everybody's motives of what they wanted to be in their life. Yeah. So this to me was such a magical era, if you will, of Kiss. So with this particular picture, what is that actually, the cardboard thing? Was somebody's birthday, right?
It's Ace's birthday. Happy birthday, Ace.
Yeah. April 17th, 19th, something like that.
Yeah, that might have been it.
Yeah. Ace Frehley, God bless him, man. He's always been one of the funniest, just unadulterated, true rock musician.
Oh yeah, he's a character. So
yeah, and of course, much later everybody starts to splinter off, and I know money matters, money changes, and behavior changes from that. So
I put another picture up there. That's something that I got in early 2000s. Which I cherish.
Oh yeah, there you go.
That's all the guys signed it.
Yeah.
And down at the bottom, 40 years of friendship, and what do you get? A broken drum head, signed by Neil Peart.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Neil's revered as one of the most prolific drummer in modern music, right?
Yep.
I mean, to say top 3 rock drummers of all times, his name will often come up, whether number 1 or number 2.
Yep.
Peter never gets mentioned at all.
No.
But yet Peter's drumming on Kiss Alive, to me, was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was lyrical. It had content. It had emotion. It had all kind of stuff. Can you share a little bit with us in regards to what was the thought and the attitude behind how you guys presented Peter, especially phasing, and he had his whole thing working with Paul, talking to the audience bit?
Yeah, I think, he came from such a jazz background and Gene Krupa kind of thing and whatnot, that it did add it added a flavor to the band that was a lot different than most rock bands at the time or even since.
Yeah.
And he was quite good at doing it. And even, it was, he had a certain swing that, that other people don't get sometimes. And so, sometimes when I say swing, it people like Bunny Carlos comes to my mind, and
sure,
he's one of my favorite guys and favorite people, by the way.
Yeah.
And but Bunny always had a way to make the thing flow, and of course Bunny's influence is more of the British stuff.
Yeah.
But they both brought a certain flavor that is difficult to describe, but also you wonder what it would have been without it, so Peter definitely laid the groundwork for those songs. And, it was good.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Peter, I felt, contributed to the original Kiss sound, along with Ace, of course, that really had the organic rawness that kind of started to fade away after Bob Ezrin did Destroyer. And it's rightfully so, because when you got more money, you got more production, you got a producer who is legit, composer himself, things start to change a bit. When Eddie came back and did Rock and Roll Over later in 76, they kind of went back to the guitar dominant thing. But one of the thing that I felt that was unfair to Pete is that by the time 79, 80 rolled around, the band always, especially Gene and Paul, talking about his addiction and his uncontrollable, moods, if you will.
Right.
And the dude's been on the road this whole entire time.
Yeah.
Right. Since 74. There was really no break for that group until 79. right?
They were the hardest working bunch.
Yeah. By 79, he was what, 36 maybe?
Yeah.
So, in drumming is not like playing guitar. It takes a toll on your physical aspect of it.
Yeah.
So I definitely have always felt that it's unfair to say, well, Pete didn't hold up his end. Peter wasn't this, Peter wasn't that. No, Peter had a great voice, first and foremost. I've always loved Peter's voice. Songs like Got to Choose or Black Diamond, I thought he brought the little richer quality to it. I thought he brought the Paul McCartney quality to his voice, that Paul and Gene did not have.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And share with us, if you have a Peter story from this era.
Oh,
without incriminating, because we know he's still alive.
Well, I don't know. I think one of the most famous stories was when we were in Germany.
Yeah.
And Muhammad Ali was fighting the German guy. A couple things happened there. Ali did a thing where he fell through the stage at the weigh-in, or the stage broke.
Yeah.
We played that same venue like 2 weeks after that, or a week after that. It was right around that time.
Yeah.
But we watched the fight in a hotel, and it was me and JR, who was the kind of the road manager, security guy.
Yeah.
And Peter, and who else was with us in there? I think it was Sally. Me and Sally, Peter, and JR were watching it. And Peter was, there was probably too many adult beverages consumed. And every time Ali would hit this guy, Peter would break something. And I mean, pretty much anything he could get his hand on. And he basically ended up destroying the whole hotel room. And then he ended up crawling out the window and being on the ledge.
Oh, man.
And we're like, Peter, you got to, finally JR talked him down, got him out of there. But he ended up spending, I don't know, $5,000 or something to buy the hotel room.
Wow.
But it was quite an interesting Peter night.
that is so almost like all 70s drummers, especially top tier drummers like Mooney, like Bonham, now Peter, do these just outrageous, crazy things.
Yep.
And monkey see, monkey do, right? If they can do it, I gotta outdo that. Yeah. Crazy. Yeah, I love Peter, Chris. I think for what he brought to the table in what he had to also endure in the reunion tour, physical limitations and so forth, you got to hand it to him, man. He was a trooper, and it just as unfortunate that some of the stories that floats out there that's not favorable to him, So okay, let's right here. Let's start rolling into 76, and I know I'm keeping you a little bit longer here. So in 76, Kiss Alive is recognized as being now a bona fide hit.
You bet.
So now the record company is excited, of course. Neil wants to bring in more money. Ezrin has success already with Alice Cooper and other bands, especially, now he's a guy also a composer, writer.
Yep.
Kiss is put in a situation that they've never been in before. They're not playing 3-chord songs like they were used to. All of a sudden, they have to learn temperament. They have to learn tuning, playing thirds, things like that. They really was, I think, just doing out of the rock modality opposed to a composition from a classical point of view. Because if you listen to Kiss Destroyer, not only Detroit Rock City, but, Great Expectation, Flaming Youth, all these things had these elements to it. Now, of course, decades later, we found out it wasn't Ace. It was Dick Wagner doing this. It was maybe Rick Derringer doing this.
Another Michigan boy.
Yeah, well, and I will say Dick Wagner and Steve Hunter, these guys were just top guitar players.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not surprising that you get frustrated with the guy who's doing a little too much nose candy or drinking a little too much, playing poker all night, they're coming in, slopping it. And Ace Frehley, to me, when he was on, he was beautiful.
Yeah. When
he wasn't on, he played like Jimmy Page with a broken hand. Right? And Jimmy Page, it's the same way. Jimmy Page, when he's brilliant, he's brilliant. Yeah. When he's on dope, he plays like he has a broken hand. And it's not a knock to them. It's just that that urban blues style that I think they were all influenced from has that kind of sloppy hand motion that goes along with the attitude of the rhythm. I believe Hendrix was that way because, if you look at Hendrix, some stuff he plays, you just going, my goodness, this is brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's things he plays and you're just like, you're flat, right? But that's all part of the charm, I believe, in that type of rock guitar playing,
Sure.
So Kiss now comes out of this success with Kiss Alive. And do you see a difference between that shift of coming off that tour and then getting for them to get ready to now do Destroyer and then Destroyer being made and then, hey.
Well, yeah, it was a big jump for all of us, and there was a lot of things that went on then. I have a couple other, things that we did that were kind of, what's the term I'm looking for? Pioneering at the time, so to speak.
Wow, look at that.
This is Cobo Hall.
Yeah,
and this is. We did a couple things here. This was the early summer. This was early '76.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if it was Sean Delaney or whatever. You look at the PA stacks there, and that they look like they were white, but they were actually silver.
Wow.
They were painted. The mouths of the horns were painted silver.
Yeah.
And that was kind of part of the show. And Bill Aucoin, having been in the TV business, we were one of the very first concerts ever to have what they call live video. It was very, very, very rare at that time, and there was a couple places. Oh God, there was one in LA that had one of the country guys, and I'm trying to have a senior moment, but they had a weekly show come out of there, and they had image magnification, IMAG. They had a live thing, but they were doing a TV show at the same time.
Right.
There was also a place in New Jersey that we did, the Capitol Theater there, Passaic had a thing that did that. And other than that, it was very, very rare. This is one of the first times that anybody ever put a big screen up. Of course, nowadays, the whole venue is a big screen, but this was pioneering at the time. And if you and that first shot, there was you could the guys that did it and stuff it was real embryonic. The crew, the TV crew, was actually from NBC's local sports affiliate. They were they were the same guys that did, went and did the Detroit Lions football game or something.
Right.
and they were called on to do this rock show thing. So,
wow.
So that was kind of something that we really pioneered. And the projectors, they used these things called Idaphores, which are, I don't know, about the size of a Volkswagen with 3 lenses on it. All that stuff has come so far, but we were one of the first right there. That was early 1976. So
yeah, absolutely. This is why I said, the apex of the seed that was planted and that became Entertainment Today live concert experience came from Kiss.
Yeah,
came from what you guys were doing.
So much, you bet.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we're even talking about, let's say, when you go to a WWF or now WWE wrestling event,
right?
It wasn't that.
Oh, those
in
guys,
the 70s, it was just, light and wrestling. And by the 90s, it became Kiss.
Yeah, they're over the top, those wrestling shows.
Well, heck, I mean, let's look at this, Jay. When you go to an NFL game, it's now over the top.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can attribute that live presentation, that spectacular event, stem from Kiss.
There you go.
This is why when folks tell me, Kiss is irrelevant to the music, well, maybe to you, maybe to the songs that you did not like as much as, let's say, the next band, but you can't ever deny the level of effort they put into bringing in that show for the audience.
Yeah.
I'm forever grateful because those guys were on that path. And of course, I'm so grateful for you to be able to help us to really understand how much work went into this.
Yeah. Well, they wrote some songs. That was the big secret behind it. And we've talked about that before, but they had songs.
Oh yeah,
great
well,
songs.
that's
fun rock and roll songs.
Yes, and even some of the songs that, like I said, it wasn't the popular songs, right? When we were talking about popular songs, especially from the first few records, you were talking about Rock and Roll All Night. We're talking about Strutter. We're talking about Deuce.
Firehouse.
Right? Firehouse, right. But, when you talk to Kiss fans would say Going Blind. Kiss fans would say Parasite.
Yeah.
She. To me, what I remember as a kid hearing that song and just thinking, how dark is this?
Yeah.
Nothing like it at that time.
Yeah.
And I loved music. I was listening to everybody. Nothing was like Kiss.
It was fun times.
Yeah, it was great times. So I know they did. They went out when they finished Destroyer. They were going to make this big bombastic show, which ended up being the Anaheim show, right?
Right.
And they purchased or leased the original Frankenstein effect for the lightning bolts and so forth. They did a pre-production rehearsal in that setup. Were you involved in any of that?
Yeah, we were. We did the. We started those rehearsals up in Newburgh, New York, in one of those airplane hangars.
So they had to ship all that stuff all the way to New York to do this?
Well, that's where we did the pre-show or the pre-tour rehearsal, and then we set up a day early in if my memory is correct, it might have been like Norfolk, Virginia.
Okay.
Those kind of places where we went in a day early.
Yeah.
To get set. It's either Norfolk or somewhere in the southeast. There, we went into a place and set it all up. So
right.
Yeah.
And it was interesting too, is that in the beginning of that second phase, I always considered Destroyer being a second phase of the band,
right.
That they did the early show still wearing the Kiss Alive outfits. Do you remember that?
I don't think they were even, I'm not a big outfit historian, but I don't know if they weren't ready yet or not. I can't remember.
Yeah. I believe they only did like maybe one or two. Oh, I love that.
And this is actually, I believe this is that first show.
Yeah.
That we talked about. And there was, this was the first Destroyer thing. We had all this, they had all these things and stuff covering it was like I don't know. I can't remember what it was. But then they had the light towers were supposed to look like, power line grid towers.
Right.
And it was a bit frustrating for Rick and the lighting guys because they never thought they had anywhere near enough lights. As you can see, as rock shows, I mean, you went to, like, if you went to Van Halen in 1980 or something, there'd be like 2,000 par cans.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, this was not a lot of lights when you think about what we were doing then.
Right. But Kiss was a very effectively used in sense of the color scheme.
Yeah.
I've always thought that was really instrumental in regards to how great the pictures look.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
The red and the green with Gene, the purple with Paul, right? Or the spotlight that followed Ace.
Well, those are good Rick Monroe questions there.
Yeah. And what I love about this picture is I remember my first time seeing Kiss walking into the Summit in Houston, right?
Okay.
And right when you walk through the mezzanine, you start going down, and you see that big Kiss logo.
Yeah.
and it's just, there's nothing like it. There's nobody else that was doing anything close to this.
Yeah.
And that to me has always left an impression. Of course, in the bands that I've ended up playing in, my motto has always been, we got to give it to the audience as good as it could possibly be, bigger than life.
Yeah.
Because I was so influenced by this idea, this business model, So how many shows were done before you guys headed out to the West Coast and do that now just infamous Anaheim Stadium show?
Oh, God, I can't even remember offhand. That's a good question.
Was it quite a bit?
Yeah, I mean, it was a handful for sure.
Right.
I'm trying to remember what date Anaheim was.
Anaheim was August, wasn't it? Let me
Um,
see if I have it on my spreadsheet here.
yeah, I have.
Nope. My research did not give me that date. Gee. But I remember it was considered would be the summer from what everybody was telling me.
Yeah.
And like I was talking to Derek Fuller, who
August
plays.
20th.
Yeah, see, hey, how about that? I remember pretty well. Yeah, and that show was so big, that's similar to a lot of people who remember Beatles playing Shea
Oh
Stadium
yeah.
and things like that. Yeah,
Well, we had it was quite a group of bands too. It was
right.
Nugent and Seeger, and it was Ronnie Montrose, and
Yeah.
we had the Turtle guys doing the announcements, Flo and Eddie, and
Yes.
it was quite an event.
Yeah. And when Kiss became that big, I mean, how hard was it for the guy such as Ted to go up there and try to play in front of that audience?
I don't. Ted's not afraid of much. So.
No, that's absolutely true. Ted is man's man. There's no question about that.
Yeah. But the Seeger group was with us on most all of our shows that summer. So
wow,
that's really how I got to know them.
Yes.
And then when our change happened at the end of September, that's how I melded right into doing that. So
yeah, and that's such a great.
We became pretty close.
Yeah.
No doubt. It was seamless, And well, we had done the Seeger shows, most of his headline shows in Detroit, like at the Michigan Palace Theater, for instance. We left the sound system up from Kiss, and we did Seeger like a week later or something.
Okay. Yeah.
And then we also used the same system at Pontiac Silverdome for Seeger.
Wow.
Same system that you see at Anaheim or anything else.
Right.
So whenever Kiss wasn't playing, we were doing something else. And so that's how we became friends. And then,
right.
So anyway.
What do you remember most about doing that Anaheim show?
Oh God, it was.
I mean, August has got to be hot.
Well, it wasn't. I don't think it was too bad. It wasn't like some of the things we did it wasn't like Atlanta.
Okay. Yeah, I understand that.
Some of the places in the Southeast. No, it wasn't. I don't remember it being too bad. I mean, it was a lot of work. It was a long couple days. That's for sure.
And at that point, when you finally, finished that particular show, and you've been with the band for the last 2 years, and you've seen the stale leather suits and the peanut butter sandwich days all the way to this. What was your feeling? Do you remember the emotion that was running through you?
Well, it was, you kind of look around and you pinch yourself, all of a sudden there's, 50,000 people when they're, in the course of a year and a half or something. It's pretty meteoric rise.
Yep. Yeah. It for a lot of people, they think it's overnight.
Well, I mean, in a historical concept, I guess it kind of is.
Right. And that's funny, too, is that they jumped because of Destroyer, because of Beth and all those things. And then Anaheim show put them on the map. Because here, as a Texas kid, I'm looking at Kiss being, a bigger than life. That's all we can absorb, basically, because that's what the magazines was feeding us, right? And I think Aucoin Management did such a fabulous job to understand the dynamics working with the press on let's not show the true identity. Let's play that game, so that added mystique to it. Then they start implementing, I think, just different things, such as the Cadillac, Michigan appearance, such as, walking around Bronx Zoo, Central Park, all that photo ops.
Sure.
I think Bill was extremely brilliant in doing those things with the band.
Oh, yeah. Lots of good stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so, Jay, I can't thank you enough. Again, always, I love your stories, love your knowledge and experience.
Yeah, well, we touched on a few here today. So
yeah. So let me wrap up by asking you a few things about this era and this band, so forth.
Yeah.
Who is the funnest guy in the band out of the 4?
Oh, well, you'd have to say Ace. I mean, that's, he was
Right.
We always had some fun with him. So,
Yeah. So that was almost.
But they were all pretty personable. I mean, Gene used to ride the bus every now and then.
No kidding.
He loved to ride the bus. He probably did a half a dozen bus rides with us, easy. And we'd get into some bus stop somewhere, and they'd say, "Oh, who are you guys with, kids? Oh, you ever seen them without their makeup?" Gene, no, never. They never.
So he was really playing that up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So out of the 4, who was the biggest jokester?
You'd have to say Ace as well.
So he is the life of the party.
Oh yeah, he was the life of the party, no question about it.
Okay, so out of the 4, who was the most business minded?
Well, Gene. Absolutely.
Okay. Even more so than Paul.
Yeah. Well, Paul was quiet about it. Gene.
Okay.
Gene, he wore it on his sleeve, no problem.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. Were you aware of Paul that had a hearing problem? Did he disclose that to everybody?
Oh.
Okay. Because later on in his biography, he talked about that.
Really?
Okay. Yeah. Paul was picked on relentlessly as a child because of his hearing loss on his right ear.
Okay.
Yeah. So I didn't know by the time he was a pro musician that he said to you guys to say, "Hey, I really can't hear out of this side. Yep. I need this." That's interesting.
I don't remember anything concerning that.
Because I think he himself was very self-conscious about it. And it was liberating for him to write it in his biography on how he became, helping other children to deal with this type of disability, hearing problems. So that was pretty neat. Yeah. Who was the one that demanded the most? Like, where's my breakfast?
Oh, probably Peter.
So you can't take that Brooklyn kid out of him, can you? Yeah. It's funny that Peter to me has always been the most authentic, honest New Yorker out of the 4.
Yeah.
Because having known, pretty much anybody who came from there, who grew up there, there's a certain level of attitude, street tough and so forth, and just a way of, life.
Oh, sure.
And I thought Peter really was that. And I read all 4 of their biographies too. So I thought his book represented that. I should
probably read them myself.
It's pretty humorous. I mean, Gene's book talks about his days in Israel and so forth and how he became. So it's very Hollywood, really fun. Right. Ace is, of course, very lighthearted. A lot of stories about how he almost kills himself, Peter talks about life in general, good business, bad business, upbringing, gangs, and so forth. But the overall balance, I think, was therapeutic. Paul did the book, and I think it really helped him.
Right.
Yeah. So I think this has been a tremendous episode. Like I said, thank you so much for,
pleasure.
kind of, fulfill my little dream as a kid, really loving this band to now really hear some of the logistics and the stories that went behind it. If you're up to it, Jay, would love to do this with Bob.
We got lots more we can talk about.
Yeah, and also Cheap Trick Ears, because they are every bit unique and instrumental to the development of American music.
Oh yeah, they're my favorite guys.
Yeah, I mean, I have friends that just absolutely love Bob Seger, and I have friends that just absolutely love Cheap Trick.
Well, we'll do it coming up for sure.
Yeah. So thank you again to everybody out there. Friend. Thank you for tuning in. Like and subscribe, and be sure to share. Always share this podcast. And Jay, stay warm, my friend.
All right. It's up to 5. So
yeah, I know. I'm gone down to, I think, maybe 38 now.
All right.
Everybody have a great weekend and stay warm. We'll see you on the next Art of Mastery 13th Note podcast.
Bye-bye.
Bye.